Cameos are hardly uncommon in the Bond cinematic world, with behind-the-scenes crew making notable appearances in pretty much every installment in the series, the most prolific being producer Michael G. Wilson, who has cameoed in every Bond film since The Spy Who Loved Me, and even made an appearance in Goldfinger way back. Producers, directors, composers are all quite proud and happy of their 007 movie Easter egg status, but there is one cameo that is and has been a source of much dispute, and it concerns the most important figure in the history of James Bond, his creator, Ian Fleming. Welcome to the Myths of James Bond, a series where we take a look at some of the larger public misconceptions surrounding the world of 007. In this episode, we're going to be taking a look at the much disputed Ian Fleming cameo in From Russia with Love. For those of you unfamiliar with this dubious bit of Bond trivia, if you boot up your version of the film and head to around the 1 hour 16 minute mark, in a sequence that follows the death of a major character, there are various shots of a train passing by a crossing. In this series of shots is a curious one of the train passing by a man in what looks to be a blue cap, white jumper and dark pants. The man seems to be holding a cane or stick of some sort, and before the shot ends, he turns and looks right at the camera. According to some sources, this man is Ian Fleming. I was very taken in by this rumour when I first became a Bond fan many years ago, and I took it as gospel for so long. I even went as far as to bring it up in my own video review of From Russia with Love.
Now seems like a good time for some moderately interesting trivia. Ian Fleming himself has a cameo in this film as the man in the white jumper as the train goes speeding by.
But I'd first read about it years before that. I think I must have read it on some early Bond web forum or trivia page, and at that time my only point of reference for the film was a VHS copy of it, so the quality obviously wasn't very good, so yeah, I just put my faith in what I was reading. Sure, yeah, that's Ian Fleming, of course, why not? But then, over the years, as versions of the film were released on upgraded home media formats and picture quality improved, my trust in this particular bit of trivia started to wane. But before we delve into why, let's talk about where this rumour came from. Well, according to various articles that I read during my online research, this can be traced back, as far as I'm aware, to the 1987 Bond trivia book Keeping the British End Up. And now, I don't believe that the authors of that book necessarily made up this fact. I just kind of assume it was something of an urban legend even back then. Opinion, as far as I can tell, still seems to be quite split on whether or not it really is the author or not. You only need to Google Ian Fleming From Russia with Love cameo to find many a forum discussion and blog post on the subject. There is certainly evidence in favour of this rumour being true. Ian Fleming visited the From Russia with Love set on location in Istanbul, in Turkey, and was pictured by a train, wearing clothes very similar to the man standing by the moving train in the film, and both men are carrying canes. I can totally understand how someone would make that leap here and sort of connect those behind-the-scenes photos of Fleming with the image of the guy in the film, and particularly at a time where the only ways to view the film may well have been just like on a cinema screen, in which case you only have a few seconds to kind of gauge what you're seeing, or on a home media format where the image quality may have been suboptimal at best. However, given the technology and clarity of image we have now, looking at the man on the screen and the photo of Fleming, I don't think that's the same guy at all. In a purely physical sense, the man in the film looks to be shorter and stockier than Fleming, who was around 6 feet tall. The man in the film is wearing a cap, so his face is overshadowed, but from even what we can see, the face shape looks different to Fleming's, and, of course, Fleming's dark hair at the time was going grey, where the man in the film looks to have jet black hair. While the clothes look similar enough, there is a discrepancy when it comes to the cane. Fleming, we can see, holds the cane at about waist height, whereas in the film, the cane is kind of halfway up the guy's torso, but then it does look as if the man is actually holding two canes, one in each hand, which actually leads on to my reasoning as to why I don't believe that the guy in the film is Ian Fleming. I think he's just really a local farmer or shepherd who's making sure his cattle don't go wandering onto the train tracks or get near a speeding train. Presumably the two sticks are there so that the man has range to hit the animals away on either side if they do get too close, and he's stood there to form a barrier between the cows and the train. Otherwise, if this was a planned cameo from Ian Fleming, would they really go to the effort of giving him the props, the cap, and bringing in a cow only for his appearance to be so obscured anyway? Given that during that particular shot the camera work is a little wonky too, I get the sense that the shot was perhaps taken in a hurry, or the setup of it was hindered in some way. Either way, it does come across kinda slapdash, and maybe they only had one pass of the train from this angle and it would have taken a while to set up again, bring the train back, so they were trying to get it all done in one, and maybe this farmer just wandered into the shot and they had to make do with it. The camera certainly seems to be trying to remove the cow from the frame. Then there's also the fact that the farmer looks right down the lens of the camera at the end of the shot once the train has passed. If this were an intended cameo from Ian Fleming, I can't imagine he'd be so thoughtless as to potentially spoil a shot by doing such a thing, nor that the camera wouldn't have been fully set up and stabilized beforehand. Going beyond even what we can see in the film, if that really was Ian Fleming, surely that would be a fact more widely celebrated by Eon Productions and the makers of the Bond series. The fact that this bit of trivia seems to have sprung out of the fandom and has been kept alive by the fandom and has never actually been officially acknowledged is in itself suspect. Why wouldn't Eon Productions or any of the people involved in the film ever come out and reveal whether or not this really is Bond's creator cameoing in a Bond film? Why wouldn't Fleming himself have taken some pride in the matter and told friends and family about it? Why is there no official record on whether or not this is true? Well, maybe it's just kind of nice to keep the idea alive? I know that's a touch hypocritical coming from me, especially after I've just spent a good few minutes discrediting this claim, but I guess much like how it's nice for kids to believe in Father Christmas and the Tooth Fairy, isn't it just kind of nice to think that Ian Fleming was physically immortalized in some way in the film series that owes itself entirely to his creation? To this day, you can find people on forums disputing whether this is Ian Fleming or not. I think the evidence on one side is much more convincing than on the other, but I was surprised at how many people are willing to just flat out say, nope, I believe that that is him, and that's the end of it. And like so many things in life, I suppose people will see what they want to see, believe what they want to believe, and I guess that's kind of fine. It's not hurting anyone. I think it's about as truthful as the suicidal munchkin in The Wizard of Oz and a ghost appearing in Three Men and a Baby. That is it for this edition of the Myths of James Bond. If you have a James Bond myth or public misconception that you would like to be explored in a future installment of this series, then please do leave your suggestion in the comments section below. Also below you can find links to my various social media pages, my Facebook and my Twitter accounts, as well as my Patreon page for those of you who would like to go one extra step in supporting this channel. Also below you can hit the subscribe button if you haven't already to be subscribed to this channel and receive updates on future videos. Until next time, Bond fans, so long for now.